Welcome back, one and all, to Podstance, the Punk Stance podcast. It is me once again on this very, very cold January evening. I've currently got my hoodie on, I've got slippers on, I've got long trousers, comfy trousers, I've got a hot water bottle in my bed right now because it's so bloody cold. Oh my god. Cold Snap McGee over here, keeping us nice and busy in the UK. Yeah, it's very, very chilly. But hey, why not? Speaking of chilly, we're about to hear from two guys that wore hats for the entire conversation that they had. Well, no, I think I joined mine halfway through. Anyway, a brand new show is starting. I came up with a brand new idea. I understand that Albums That Saved My Life is what sort of started this podcast, and I'm going to keep doing it. Obviously, it's the thing that I think is what makes this podcast that much more unique and more personal, but I figured that it was time to allow the bands to have a say in what they want to talk about, which is most likely their own music, and there's no point hand-fisting an album in there that's completely unrelated to the work that they do. So I figured, why not try something new, try a different thing that's sort of solely dedicated to bands talking about their music and just the ideas that they've got and getting to know them and them getting to know me. So this is the first official episode of Release Ramble, so thank you for joining. This will be just under the same Podstance name. It will have a slightly different thumbnail, which I'm fairly sure I've figured out for now. So you'll be able to tell which ones are which. Pretty much it will just be these two. So you'll have Albums That Save My Life and Release Ramble. There'll be one a week, sort of alternating. If you don't like one of them, then you can wait 2 weeks and then you get one of the one that you do like. Or if you like both of them, then you'll get something each week, which is quite interesting. It's quite the workload I'm giving myself now, but I think with the interest and the general positivity and the consensus that's come from these episodes, I think it'd be good for me to do a bit more stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this one. Our first official episode is with Stank, the Great Yarmouth ska punk band. They've got their brand new album, Three Finger Discount, coming out on Friday. I believe will be releasing on the Saturday, so it would have come out yesterday. It's an incredibly exciting and energetic album, full of classic ska punk vibes, but also like a modern edge to it in terms of the lyrics. A lot of inspiration from the sort of classic 90s era of Big Real Fish, Less Than Jake, and a smattering of others. And the lead guy, James, is an absolute gem to talk to. He's a lovely chap, had an amazing pink hat. Stunning pink hat, honestly, it was brilliant. But James Pendle was representing the team. He's the vocalist and rhythm guitarist. There's also Liam Osborne, or Ozzy, who does other vocals and lead guitar. Damien Lone, who does bass, and Michael Porter, who's on the drums. They sort of pride themselves on being a very energetic, very exciting ska punk quartet. Been ripping up the stages up and down the country recently, touring, and they've been generally just enjoying their time as a band. And I think the general vibe you get from James and the band themselves is that they really enjoy just being a team and working together on the music that they've done. And I think that's such an important and integral part of music and the band etiquette, as it were, that keeps getting missed. But it was a lovely conversation. It was really nice to meet him. Finally gave him a chance to talk about the album and what it means to him and the kind of influences that come from it, and mostly to give me a chance to try something new. As much as I love Albums That Save My Life, and I think it's an excellent bit of work that I'm very happy with and I will continue to go forward with, I think that'll be more for non-artists or just people that don't make their own music. I know Carlo was on here, and I probably will get a couple of people that do their own stuff, but I think it's time that artists get their own say in what their music is, because I think if you're trying to forcefully get them to talk about an album that's not about their own stuff, then I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. But I won't keep you guys too long, obviously. These intros usually go on a bit longer than I was expecting, but I will allow myself and James Pendle of Stank to talk about their new album, Three Finger Discount, on Release Ramble. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Well, I've seen you've got your jumper on as well. I literally just got
I've got two.
You've got two on?
Yeah, two on, yeah. I'm in
Say,
a garage at the bottom of the garden and it's so cold.
oh, it's a nice looking garage. Look at all the speakers on there. Look at that.
Yeah, these two are fake on the outside. They're just there for show.
I mean, I have nothing to show.
Bloody cold.
I was going to say, I've got nothing to show for it apart from, ironically, the massive winter coat in the back that I should be wearing.
Yeah.
No, I just went to receive a hoodie. Have you got, what's going on in the east? Is it even colder up there than it is down here?
It's pretty nippy. Yeah, we did have a little bit of snow, but yes, it's pretty damn nippy, to be fair.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, by the coast as well, that's not exactly going to help.
No, I mean we tend to dodge the snow because of the salt air, I guess, and whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty completely bleak by the sea in the
Well,
winter.
you do talk a lot about Great Yarmouth in what we're now going to be finally. Well, what a segue! You can tell I've done this a lot. Um, but yeah, firstly, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
This would be the actually at the time of recording, this would be the first one of this new show, Release Ramble, going out. So whether that's a
Oh,
privilege or
amazing.
not, we will find out.
Yeah,
But
absolutely it
but
is.
very exciting to have you on. And obviously, with Great Yarmouth in conversation already, it seems that this album that you have spent a lot of time getting into the works, as it were,
Yeah,
is most predominantly about the town itself. It's like a homage to Great
there
Yarmouth.
is. Yeah, it's such a great word as well, isn't it? Homage. Yeah, it's our hometown is like a love-hate relationship. It's pretty grim, especially in the winter, but makes for great songs, of course. So
11 great ones. I'm amazed you got that much content out of Great Yarmouth. I went once like 10 years ago, and I remember briefly being attacked by a seal and being in one of those Zorbs. Is that like
Oh
on
yeah,
the side? I can't
the
remember if it was
seafront.
like a planned part, like a planned event, or it was just something that was going on at the time. But that's the only two
Right.
things I remember about Great Yarmouth. But I'm
That's
trying
pretty
to.
much it, to be fair.
Is that what's going
Yeah,
on?
that's about it. Yeah, in the summer it's a Zorb and a seal,
And now
and
we're
that's a
seeing
lot.
Zorb and the Seal. Can that be
Yeah,
the next name of your song? Is that all right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, Zorb and a Seal. I
lock
can't
it
wait to
in,
see that in a couple of years. Well,
locking that
obviously,
in.
yeah. At the time of recording, I think this will be coming out in 2 days.
Yeah,
But
squeaky bum time, I think they
squeak.
call it.
Yeah, it's getting
Yeah,
down to the wire. But what's the
yeah.
feeling with yourself and the other members? How's the excitement feeling?
Lots of excitement, lots of relief because we've had it ready for so long. We had to push it back several times due to
Yeah.
artwork and various things. It just takes so long to get everything done in the background. And but the songs have been done and ready for so long, so it's been quite a painful wait. But yeah, we're really
Mm,
excited. We really need it out there. We're getting all this sort of attention on the road, and they're just, have you got a CD? Have you got a CD? No, no, no. It's coming, I'm coming. So we're finally going to be able to say we have this album out there, and then we'll build from that and
yeah.
tour on it hopefully, and then we've got to go straight back in and work on the next one. It's been so long that we're now due another one.
Yeah. Well, it was the original. I think Jolly Rancher came out in 2020, like COVID times
Yeah, yeah,
originally, and then your latest single, Help Yourself, was later last year.
yeah.
Any reason for such a big gap, or was it just how it happened?
It's just kind of how it fell. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we the band kind of evolved. A couple of us were in working bands beforehand, so the band started as just like a side project, for lack of a better word. A bit of fun, playing a few casual covers, just to bring the fun back to it. When you're touring all the time, and it's not always it can be difficult. So we just thought, let's just have a little bit of fun with it. Not no pressure, no nothing. We'll just get up and play some cool songs, and it just kept growing and growing, and then we just kept getting all this feedback that we just couldn't ignore anymore. And so we had to go full time with it, as much as that is, when you're trying to do a day job as well. But
Yeah.
it's full time in that sense. We just couldn't ignore the feedback anymore. So that's why we've got so little content, but we've been out playing the songs that we're now about to release essentially. But I don't know.
What
It's
kind
really
of
hard
what
to
kind of
squeeze it
feedback were
all
you
in.
getting from the kind of people you were hanging out with?
They're just screaming at us for CDs. Like, why haven't you put these songs out? There's a couple of fan favorites, that were like, is that one going to be on there? It's like, yes, 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 definitely, definitely. There's like two or three that was just like, that's got to be on the CD. And then we wrote four or five extras, I think, to go with the ones we had, and because the act actually started off acoustic,
No,
I believe.
nice.
Yeah, so it was just two of us and a cajon, and every gig we played, we just people were saying like, you need to take this electric and go full on with it, and just like, Okay, we'll
Yeah.
give it a go.
Yeah, I mean the sound you've come up with is, I mean, ska in itself and ska punk in itself is a bold move for such a sort of modern day, especially, 20 years ago you would have melded into it as just, yeah, we're
Yeah,
going into the masses, but now you're sort of very much making a name for yourself with your quirkier sort of horn
yeah.
sound, as it were. How did that come about if you originally had like an acoustic set?
I don't know. We just got. I mean, we were all Scar fans through and through. We all grew up listening to Real Big Fish and Goldfinger and all
Oh,
those. Hence,
classics.
the name kind
Yeah.
of is a play on essentially Goldfinger. I mean, even the name is kind of a testament to how casual it started because we never expected it to go anywhere. So we just come up with the silliest name we
Yeah.
could, and of course now we're stuck with it because, as you know, changing names
Doesn't
for a
work.
band is pretty much suicide. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was great though. I mean, as much as the name, it's easily very memorable. To the
yeah,
point
that's
where
the thing.
when I said to my mum, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do an interview with a guy from Stankfinger." She audibly just went, "Ugh,"
What?
and I was like, "Yeah, that's the mum response I was expecting." But it means like
Yeah.
she'll probably come back to it and go, "So how was?" She'll remember the name, and I think that's regardless of the context, it'd still be a
Yeah.
good part of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean it's kind of just a play on Goldfinger and just kind of self-deprecating about our town and how grimy and kind of seedy it is. And yeah, we didn't expect obviously things to take off. So as I say, we're stuck with it now. But it does us pretty well on the marketing side. You know, it's pros and cons to it. But yeah, it gets people talking before we even play. So that's got to be a bonus. And
Yeah.
kind of prepares people because we're kind of a jokey act essentially. We're professional, but we have a good time, we have a laugh,
Mm.
and so I just think it gears people up to know that we're obviously a humorous, or we consider ourselves humorous.
Who
Possibly
kn-
not.
we'll ignore other opinions if you can find it. I mean,
Yeah,
I was listening through some of the ones, and I mean, Jolly Rancher itself, Scummy Holidays, a lot of them in there, Dib Dab as well. They have a very sort of self-referential bit of humor to them,
yeah.
and you can tell that you're just having just a bit of a laugh, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's dark moments, there's poppy moments. It's just kind of what feels good at the time, what sounds good to us. But the key to us is that we enjoy playing together,
Mm.
and we just, we went on a long tour, or long for us in November. Just sleeping in a van, just playing shows to a man and his dog, and it's just kind of testament to how well the band get on because we all just had a blast, just
Yeah,
enjoyed playing.
it's pretty much what it's all about, isn't it? Getting
Yeah,
out there
yeah.
and with the CD as well, you'll actually have some merch to give out to people at long last.
At last, yeah, yeah. We can finally say
We
yes.
do
Here you
have
go.
it. With the name like Stangfinger as well. Where did the album title Three Finger Discount come from?
Most of these funny quote unquote names come from our drummer Mick. He's got a very wicked sense of humor. I don't actually know how it became the supermarket thing, but as you'll probably hear from the intro track,
I was just gonna say as well.
yeah, it kind of led to not only endless puns, but kind of it led to catchphrases and merch and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of worked out pretty well, just from a random phrase that the drummer came out with, and we all chuckled at.
Were
So
you attempting to imitate the famous X Factor voice man? I can't remember his name now, but the super deep voice
I don't
guy.
know his name. Yeah, our guitarist Ozzy is just the king of voiceovers, and he can do the most amazing impression of that guy you've ever heard. Because on our seafront, one of the arcades, that guy has recorded this voiceover for. So if you're in the summer and you're up and down the seafront, that's all you can hear is his voice. And Ozzy will often just do the phrases, and it just absolutely have us in stitches. So it had to be that, and that was actually the demo audio as well, because we thought we're never going to be able to recreate the magic when we went to the studio. So I actually just sent the audio of the voiceover
Oh wow.
to our producer, and he used the originals because it's just how can you recreate that? We were just in
Well,
stitches at the time.
exactly. Then, if anything, it adds all the authenticity that you'd need for that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't seem forced then. It's just that's how it came out of his mouth the first time. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
great. It's
very
all those
very
little,
talented.
it's all those little details that, like, I don't even know. I haven't watched X Factor in years. I don't even know if that guy still does anything, but
It's
the
got to
vo
be still him, and his voice is everything, doesn't it?
does everything. I'm sure I
Yeah.
mean, amongst the famous voices of like the I Am's cat ad guy, if you
Mm.
remember that, that was a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Most
I remember the
obscure
ads.
references. Anyone outside of
Yeah.
England will have no idea what we're talking about with that one, but I'm glad we
Yeah.
can we can
Yeah, I
bond
mean
on
the
that.
spoof track itself is going to bamboozle our friends overseas,
Mm.
unless they've seen that game show. I don't know if it's even exists in other countries, but yeah, they might not get the context, but 90s English kids will find it hilarious,
Yeah,
hopefully.
it's interesting you have that dichotomy of like all of your influences and your inspirations are clearly sort of classic American ska, but it's
Yeah.
you've taken it into a authentically deeply British territory with the lyrics and
Yeah,
the general themes.
probably more British than we would have done in hindsight, but it just came away. It just came about that way, and yeah, as I say, we're probably bamboozling our American friends, but yeah, they'll get the references eventually. It wouldn't sound the same if GY Skyrats said fries instead of chips, so it just wouldn't work. So
Yeah,
sorry,
that's brilliant.
sorry, our American friends.
No, that's fine. Well, speaking of specific tracks, do you have any particular favorites in there that have struck out either while recording them or having heard them afterwards?
I mean, Help Yourself just stood out as a single kind of straight away. And that ironically was the fastest one that we wrote. It just the luck of the draw how it happens. Sometimes it just flows. And Skyrats is a crowd favorite, because we kind of build up to the chorus and actually stop, teach people the chorus, and then we go. And it's obviously very, very scar. So hopefully the whole dance floor is going crazy for that. And another fan favorite is Dead Men Tell No Tales because it's obviously quite piratey, and that always gets people moving. Whether they
Yeah.
kind of, it's not a specific genre of music, but people can't help but link arms and do all the classic pirate moves.
And funny thing, I'm glad you explained that because I saw the abbreviation of DMTNT and I was like, I really
Yeah,
need to know that before I get here, and then never figured it out. So I'm glad you've explained that to me. And there was
I
one
suspect we'll have to do that a lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
I imagine. One of the ones that really stood out to me though was the closing track, Down But Not Beaten, which is like nearly
yeah,
7 minutes long. Um,
yeah. We snuck a little secret track at the end, which kind of makes the track seem extra long. But
yeah.
yeah, it's a little acoustic secret track. Our bassist Damo actually opened for us at a show just acoustically, and he played this song, and I just thought that's got to go on as a secret track because it just
Mm.
blew me away. Yeah, just a great little song. I love it.
I think listening all the way through, you can get a glimpse of like every single bit of inspiration that you've taken from it. I mean,
Mm,
you've got the sort of inherent Britishness, the inherent
mm,
Americanness. Do you think it
yeah,
leans more one way than the other, or do you think it's just like a
it's
complete blend of both styles?
it's pretty 50-50. I mean, Ozzy probably brings the English, and I probably bring the American influences, just because of the bands we listen to. And it obviously comes through in the way we vocalize things as well. Comes through in lyrics as well, I suppose. So it's quite 50-50, I'd say,
Yeah.
which is good because then it plays to both crowds and does what it needs to do,
Yeah, you don't want to pigeonhole
commercially
yourself too
speaking.
much.
Exactly. Yeah, we've made life hard for ourselves, obviously going with the ska scene, commercially speaking, but there's a great underground scene from a live perspective, and
Mm.
yeah, we really would like to be part of that, and
Yeah. I mean, how
we
lively
grew
is
up
it?
with it, so.
Yeah, how lively is it over in Great Yarmouth in terms of a ska scene? Have you
Uh,
joined a big crowd?
it's not amazing here. It used to be. Norwich, the surrounding kind of areas had a big ska scene. It is getting better though. We have an underground punk venue, like literally a basement,
Oh, really?
that they opened up. Yeah, like a volunteer. They do charity work and things for homeless as well, and they just open up the doors for these gigs, and they'll have like a big bowl of chili, and everyone's invited,
How big a
and it
bowl?
big enough, yeah.
Because
Big enough, yeah.
I'll happily
Yay
take
big, yay
yay big.
big to the listeners. Yeah, yeah. But it just blew my mind because before playing that show that we did there, we covered. someone dropped out and we covered. We just weren't expecting, knowing Great Yarmouth, we weren't expecting much, not as a detriment to the venue, but just for the local scene. And I remember we set up, sound check, did all the usual thing. No one was there hardly, and we just went down the road to get some food and came back, and there was a queue of punks all the way down the road just for this amazing event that they'd put on, and the community spirit. And I just didn't know it existed. Like,
Yeah.
and I live here, and I just didn't know it existed. And it was just so heartwarming. Like, I could have cried at that moment, just seeing all this row of people, and the place was wall to wall packed. We had people doing all kinds of dance moves. We had rowing on the floor and all all sorts of new dance moves that we've seen. So that was just it's probably the best show I've ever played. It was the most stripped back, but the most amazing show I've ever played. Like in
Yeah.
terms of vibe, yeah, it
I can
was
imagine.
incredible.
How many shows have you been quote unquote ripping in the past few years?
We've played. We probably average. It's getting better each year. I'd say it's probably 10 to 20 per year. Um, we want to start doing more now. We kind of had to stop to sort the album essentially because
Mm.
you just can't do it all at once and make it good, you know. So we had to put it on ice, and then now we're going to try and get back on the road. Hopefully in the summer we're in talks, hopefully for some support tours and try and get and catch the eye of the people that run the punk festivals, your rebellions and what have you. So
Mm.
we've just got to keep working and keep playing shows. Most of our shows are travel away. Very rarely are we playing our hometown just because there's no scene there. But so the name is gradually spreading, and because it's a silly name, obviously it gets remembered, which is the benefit of that. So
Always.
yeah, we just want to hit the road again this year and just see what we can do, meet some people, make some connections, and play some fun music.
Have you got much planned for outside of the album? Are you going to take a little well-deserved break once it's out on Friday, or are you just going to get straight
Um,
back onto it? What's the work ethic like in the quartet?
um, these days, the work kind of doesn't start until it's released,
Mm.
so that'll be we've got to record a lot of content. Our guitarist Ozzy lives away at the moment, so we've got days booked where we're all going to be together, and we've got to fill it full of content. We've got to record. We've got new photo shoots booked, new videos being filmed. So to be honest, our work mainly starts after Friday. But my work in the evenings is pretty much all promo stuff. Constantly trying to come up with new content and keep everyone engaged. It's kind of work 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9 essentially on the band. So it's pretty intense sometimes.
I can imagine. I mean, like, are you guys? You must be knackered all the time. Like,
Pretty
luckily,
much.
I mean, all I hear about stories is people like the moment they're out of their usual jobs. I mean,
Mm.
I guess I'm doing the same now because I got back at 5, and then I'm
Yeah.
doing this now. But I think that just sort of shows the kind of energy people have in order to do the stuff that they
Mm.
genuinely enjoy. And something like a ska punk band, you've got to have a level of energy just in your shows and then outside of your shows as
Yeah.
well. You've got to have it sort of continuously.
Yeah. I mean, people look for that. And it's like you said, a live show's got to be fire. Because of the genre, it's just expected. You got to get people moving. But the work ethic does take some take some doing.
Yeah.
Takes some hours. It's a really difficult industry to break into. Especially in ska. But even other genres, it takes a lot of work, and you got to be at the right place and the right times, and just get your name out there and get the ads out on, get the content out, decent, good content, so people can engage with that.
And yet here you are chatting to myself on whatever this could be.
Hey, this is decent content.
Well, I mean, people
We really appreciate it.
in the world of the podcast, people listen to anything, I imagine, nowadays.
Podcasts are great. I started listening to them at lockdown.
Mm.
There wasn't a lot else to do, and I just found myself. I'd never been into it before that point, and I just soaked up so many hours of music podcasts. Interviews with all my favorite artists, and learned so much, and essentially learned how to manage a band from kind of that essentially is how it started, and
Oh wow.
put that to use with our band. So yeah, so podcasts are brilliant. Love them.
I mean, I can only hope that people think the same way that you do. If they're listening in and go, wow, this maybe they are worth listening to if I'm already 25 minutes in and I'm still
Yeah.
here eventually. Well, I
Mm,
mean, I think the only thing track wise is like because you say about this energy that you have to have. I did
mm.
notice that I think it was radio is a tad slower than some of the other tracks you've
Yeah.
done. Was that like an intentional choice, or did you feel like you needed to whack some form of slower song in there?
I mean, we're getting older, so it's a chance to catch our breath, and the venues tend to be hot sweat boxes, so it gives everyone a chance to catch their breath. But with that song, it was just one of those. It's actually a cover of a cover, essentially. It's No Effects' version of a Rancid song,
Mm.
um, and we used to play it when we were doing the casual kind of thing, and it just kind of stuck. Everyone loves it. It's quite a heavily harmonied song, and it's always asked for kind of on our set list, so it stuck with it. It, Given what I've learned now with cover licensing and things like that, I probably wouldn't do it again for the release, just because it's an absolute minefield.
I imagine.
Um, I'm hoping and praying that I've done everything correctly from a copyright perspective. But yeah, just the minefield that you have to go through to make sure that you've covered enough streams and enough physicals. And in hindsight, I'd have probably bumped that off the album. But yeah, it's a great song. So
If you had to
it's
get
our
rid of
signature
one.
song. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just purely to make our life easier.
Well, what about like those trials and tribulations that you've gone through? What kind of challenges has the band faced since like the first single? Like to get this album out sort of 4 years later must be quite a difficult path.
Is it 4 years? That's
Well,
nuts.
three and a
Yeah,
half technically, depending on when
yeah.
the first single came out.
Yeah, that puts in perspective, really. I mean, the
Sorry.
biggest challenges. Yeah, thanks for that.
Didn't mean to bring reality crashing down like that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's the reality of it. There's been lots of challenges along the way. We've been very lucky. We cannot thank everyone enough that's been involved with us. We've stumbled across great contacts, made lovely friends, people that help us out on tour. Jodie, the lady that booked with yourself, has been a big supporter of us from day one, and other kind of platforms that we've come across have stayed in touch and supported us. We've had a lot of luck. The guys are big into their scooters and things like that, so we've had a lot of luck having that as a platform to build our brand and
Yeah.
band, essentially playing these scooter rallies, because they're quite big into ska. They're more into the sort of two tone element of it, but the reception we get every year, we've done it a few years in a row, and the reception we get is amazing, and it helped us to craft our live act and our live sound. And without that kind of platform, we wouldn't now be making real music and playing to these underground venues, and meeting so many great people like yourself and everyone we've met along the
Oh,
way. So
you're too kind. You're us both here in our
it's
hoodies, just
yeah, yeah, freezing
freezing it
freezing
off.
our
But
ass
no,
off.
it's not honestly like having this is one of the best parts about doing this because it means that I now get to join you in that. I mean, I don't go up to Norfolk all that much, but I know that it's the fact that there are so many bands out there that are looking just for any slither of
Yeah.
attention or just to grasp that little bit of notoriety out there. And
Mm.
doing the gigs obviously must be the best way of doing it.
It is, but this side of things, you've got to do it now. I mean, a couple of the guys are a little bit old school on that sort of front, but it is a necessary thing that we've got to do. And to be honest, I can see the benefit of it. It leads to amazing things like this and some of the other shows that we've been involved in. And it's just amazing that that platform is there now. It has its bad points. Obviously, the market can be a little bit saturated, but without it, where would we be? We'd have to be, going out on the streets trying to do flyering and driving up and down the country just to do the street team stuff. So we're very lucky to have these tools. We can record demos in a
Mm.
garage at the bottom of a garden that sound plenty good enough to send off to producers and things like that. It's pretty nuts. But we're very, very thankful.
What would you say in terms of being distinct in quite a saturated market? Where would you say your strengths lie in that fact?
I think the live show. I think the live show is what will essentially be either the make or break of us. That's where we focus on. We get a lot of compliments on the kind of dual vocal aspect of it and the live show element. We try and play with good energy. The trouble is that with two singers, obviously a lot of the time we're locked to a mic. But where we can, we try and play with high energy, just engage the crowd and just make people happy. And I think there's a lot of political bands and darker bands, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for us, it was like we want to give people a break from all that, to break from the reality of, reality is pretty terrible at the moment. So we want our music to be an escape essentially from that. So you can have a good time for an hour or so, meet up with friends, have a few drinks, listen to some music, get sweaty on the dance floor and just forget about all the terrible things that are going on the planet at the moment. Just for a little bit. Everyone needs a break.
Yeah, there's plenty going on, certainly.
Yes, yeah. So I think that may hold us in good stead, or it may not. I don't know. People may prefer the more serious stuff. But yeah, there's obviously a place for both. So hopefully that holds us in good stead, really moving forward.
Would you ever dabble in the more sort of politipunk side or the more sort of heavier stuff?
Yeah, yeah. We do have a kind of no extreme politics rule with our writing, just because we want to not divide our fan base. Essentially, we just want people to have a good time, not cause disagreements and things like that. But obviously, every part of what you sing about, there's a political element to it. Dead Man Tell No Tales is a political song, really, if you analyze it enough. And some of the others as well. So it is there. It's just not as prevalent, I'd say. And we kind of try and mix it up with some humor, just to lighten the load a little bit. And yeah, it seems to be working well so far.
What's like sort of the future for Stank Finger in like the next 2 to 3 years or whatever? Like once this album has been and gone and you've had all the press and all the stuff that's been going on, like
Mm.
what have the band members been saying? What are you thinking of like where's the next step for you guys?
The next step, I think, is going to be support tours. I think that's the next logical step. We're not at a level really where we can put on headline tours, and that kind of showed in the November when we did. That was just more of a learning thing and having a great time with the band that we went out with, which is called Everyone Lies, from Southampton. So I think we need to get on those kind of runs where we are playing with a bigger band to get the name out there. It's just a logical step. Summer festivals, we're gonna try and hit hard. I mean, it's so difficult to break through, but yeah, hopefully a new EP next year. And then just seeing where it takes us. To be honest, we're in talks potentially with management and things like that to see if they can take us to the next level. Nothing set in stone yet, but yeah, the future's looking pretty exciting
And what
and
about what?
scary.
Oh, I mean, I can only imagine how daunting it is, let alone to
Mm,
have, this album coming out for what could happen. I mean, you guys,
yeah,
you've only been around for a few years, so you've got
yeah,
plenty
we're
to
a
go
baby
on
band
ahead with.
essentially.
Baby
Yeah,
band,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. When you break it down, we are a baby band. We're still breaking through. We're fairly low following and things like that, but it's building all the time, and the album hopefully can only add to that. And yeah, we'll push on from there and just keep working hard.
And I guess the whole band like did you all sort of meet up? Did you guys know each other initially, or was it the band itself that brought you together?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of friends of friends. I've known Ozzy, our other singer, for many years, and he has known Mick, our drummer, for many years, and he has known Damo, our bassist, for many years. So it's just kind of this chain link of events that then when we took it electric, it's like, I know a bassist, and the rest sort of fell into place. And the same for when we needed a drummer. It's like, oh, I know a drummer, yeah, and that's how it's stuck. And we just everybody gets on. We we all love each other, and we all make each other laugh constantly, which can mean it's hard to get some work done sometimes when the chips are down and we need to get on. We've got to sometimes get on with things.
Plenty of distractions, certainly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But and then Ozzy will just crack this unbelievable voice, and we're all in stitches again, and that's it. So he does an amazing impression of those groan tubes that you buy
Oh
from the
yeah,
toy stores. Unbelievable. Yeah.
I was just about to attempt it, but I feel like if I do, that'll be. I know a number of people who have attempted that impression, but how good is
Just
it?
things,
I really
little
want to
things
hear it
like
now.
that. Yeah, I think we've got it on a YouTube short of him doing it at the end of the song, and just little things like that he'll bust out and just have us in absolute stitches, and it's just such a great thing that we can do that and have fun with our music, and but still be professional. We do take it seriously at the same time, which probably makes it hard work for ourselves, really, trying to do both. But
I guess as a good thing you have a vocalist who has such a range both in the singing as well as just random voices that he can do.
yeah, and without his highs, I would sound terrible. It's just the voices complement each other so well, and that's part of the feedback that we get. And I'm super self-conscious about my own, and then when I'm doing stuff on my own, it's like, oh, this sounds terrible. And Ozzy will come in and lay harmonies on it. It's just brings it to life, and just saying it's just those two frequencies, I suppose. There's probably something scientific in it, but it just works.
Was was it always a dual vocal plan for the band, or did that just sort of come about as well?
It just came about. Yeah, Ozzy's been singing for longer. I'd say he's been lead vocals in other bands and stuff, so he's the more experienced one. But it's just how it panned out when we started doing the acoustic, and he likes to. He absolutely rips on guitar as well, so he likes to focus on that a bit more rather than doing the front man kind of thing. So I kind of got chucked in the deep end on that, and learning very gradually on that one, and just improving wherever I can. It takes some time to do that, as a shy kid growing up. I never imagined that I'd be trying to engage a crowd, and play songs, standing in the middle there. And yeah, scary stuff, but it's improving all the time. And we try and work on that on our craft.
What about playing guitar with the vocals as well? If you're mixing vocals and guitars as well, so
Yeah, well, luckily for me, I'm mainly doing rhythm bits, so the that eventually comes through practice. I think that's kind of a limb separation thing, probably similar to drums. Like I cannot play drums because I cannot separate my limbs in that respect. But I did it for vocal and guitar. You strumming a pattern and singing something different. It does take time for the brain to adjust. But it comes, and if I actually practice drums, maybe I eventually get that as well. But at the moment, no. I think the brain just kind of disconnects the two, the hands and the voice. The same as a drummer's hand and foot. Eventually, they just separate and go, and you can do it without even thinking about it. And
mad.
there is still some movements that you couldn't sing over, but for the most part, it's just now just second nature. It's weird, hard to explain, but it just comes, just clicks
That's just how your
like that.
brain
So
works.
yeah, yeah, it's bizarre. One of the many bizarre brain foibles.
Oh, I mean, don't even get me started about that. The brain chat and like the kind just the weird, pat your head, rub your tummy kind of thing of like
It's
how does it
very
work?
much
How does it
that.
work? How
Yeah,
does it do it?
yeah.
I couldn't even I can't get my head around that.
That's
Yeah,
that's all it is. Just keep doing it, and it just
persistence.
suddenly clicks. It just suddenly clicks, and then you don't even think about it. Then it's really
Wow.
weird.
Did you have a moment when it just sort of hit and you were like, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
I can do this."
yeah. I mean, I just learned playing along to kind of Real Big Fish and stuff like that when I picked up electric again as a young teen, and I couldn't really sing, but I was just giving it a go, and eventually it just suddenly clicked, and that was
I'm going to move on. While now I'm wearing my hat.
it.
The
Now you're warmed
bottom
up.
the bobbliest of bobbly hats. I want to take
Surreal.
it back. Actually, we've looked a lot into the future of Stank Finger, but I want to see like where it all started. Like, what was your first experience with ska as a genre, and like people like Real Big Fish and well, like Less Than Jake, I imagine was in there as well.
Western Jake's a big one for me personally.
Yeah,
Yeah. Where it probably started, in all honesty, is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
as it
Um,
always
to
does with.
to sum it up, yeah, yeah, that's the easy answer. I was growing up, but didn't really fit in with anyone. But apart from our little sort of what we'd now class as an alternative group. Obviously, we didn't know what it was at that age. But just this small group of people that I was friends with and still am. Like one of my best friends is I've been friends with since I was about 4 or 5, um, so we just didn't know what that meant at that time. And then when this game hit, and it's just not only the culture of the skating scene and the I guess the rebellious aspect of it to a certain extent, but the music, the soundtrack, that went along with it, it just blew my mind. And I finally found, what where I belonged. The skating community was great. That you could just make friends with anybody as long as you could, do an ollie, which is about all I could do, and still only can do about that. Obviously, the older you get, the more worried you get of injuries. But yeah, just that scene, and then the music went hand in hand with it. It's a little bit different now. I think it's quite eclectic now, but back then it was either hip hop or skate punk essentially and ska. So that's where it came from for me. Very similar roots for the other guys. Obviously, a bit of this growing up in the scooter scene as well. Probably an element of that, on the two-tone side. But from ska punk and skate punk perspective, similar journeys. Just Tony Hawk's. That was it.
He always seems to have a grasp on especially like game soundtracks as well. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I mentioned I did a podcast with my brother, and we mentioned the Burnout 3 soundtrack. Have you ever
Wow.
played that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
I still need to do a full thing about that, but that was the one that
Mm,
really did it for me. Like my whole perspective changed. I think my brother even said I used to judge him because he used to play it just to listen to the music. I was like, but
yeah.
that's not how it works. You've got to play the
Mm,
game. He was like, no, I don't care if I come last. I just want to hear
yeah.
Letter Kills and Sugar Cult one more time, and I
That's
can be
kind of what we
happy.
did. I was never great at Tony Hawk's, but even sometimes I just put it on loop just to listen to the music because that's the only way I could access it at that age. We didn't have Sky, we didn't have Kerrang, and that came a bit later on anyway. But we just didn't have access to that music until I discovered like the magazines and the compilations and things like that. So yeah, just put Tony Hawk's on loop just to listen to the soundtrack, and obviously Superman is still one of my favorite all-time songs.
Mm.
So from Tony Hawk's One of all games, and then they did the re-release not long ago. So
Oh yeah, I did see
and I
that.
still suck at it. Yeah, I
Some
forgot.
things,
I
some
forgot.
things change.
So yeah, some things definitely do not, and that
Yeah.
that was one of them. Yeah, I was still absolutely terrible at it. But it was good fun to hear the music again and see an updated version of it was just amazing.
Yeah. What was it like? What was it that like called out to you for Scar? What was it like about the musical style that really clicked with you?
I think for Scar, for me, it's the beat. It's that happy, jolly beat that you just cannot stay still to, and the way the clean guitar sounds, and it's just so warm and slightly broken up, and the way it sounds for me just hits the right spectrum in my brain or whatever you'd call it, just hits right for me. And then also like the distorted palm mutant sound for me. Like I remember getting Take Off Your Pants and Jacket by Blink. It was one of my first CD albums that I could actually afford to buy. And that the breakdown in First Date, when you get that
Mm, yeah.
proper palm muted mezzo boogie kind of sound, was like, I've got to pick up the guitar again and sound like that, because it's just that that sound and the clean scar stuff just resonates with me perfectly. And ironically, they are my two sounds now. If I'm on a distorted part, it's a Blink sound. If I'm on a clean part, it's a Real Big Fish sound. So It's
Would you
it
say
obviously
real big?
shows
You
a lot.
keep mentioning real big fish. Are they like the the main one outside of maybe Goldfinger that you mentioned?
Yeah, I'd guess Real Big Fish, Goldfinger, and Less Than Jake probably up there for me on the Scar side of things. I got the privilege of supporting Less Than Jake with my previous band, 22, I think, 21 or
Wow.
22. Just unbelievable experience, and they were just so good every night, and it shows how long they've been going. They were just tight as anything, just didn't put a foot wrong the
I wonder
whole
if they.
two
I
weeks.
wonder how they keep up an energy like that, especially
I
because
know.
I mean, if they're getting on, I mean, Less Than Jake was the late '90s when they were at their peak. So
Yeah, I think they
25
were. Yeah,
years on, and they're still
yeah.
going. Then
It's nuts.
they had an album fairly recently, didn't they? Like a
Yeah,
new
still
one.
writing, still releasing,
It's
and
mad.
their live show is just insane, just so good. And they only get better with age. I've been watching them since I was a kid, and they've always been good, but now they're just really, it's gone up quite a few levels, and I don't know how or why. It just
They just
suddenly it's just ramped up, and I don't know. Maybe
keep
it's
him
the technology and things like that. It's evolved, so they have obviously in-ear monitors, which helps with performances and obviously digital amps now is a thing. I know Chris uses a Kemper, so that sound is always there every night, no matter what, and everything just sounds so much more polished and great. And but it still has all the energy. They've still got a hype man on stage, toilet roll cannons and God knows what else. So
so traditional.
yeah, it's fantastic. Confetti cannons, toilet rolls, yeah, everything. I
Almost.
I pity the venues, of course, afterwards, but
But
that's what I get paid for, right?
I guess it's that energy that you're trying to capture that in one
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your songs. Just find that energy of a live Real Big Fish or live Less Than Jake show, put it in a little track and just have that to reel about, no pun intended.
yeah, yeah. We want to do something similar. We're trying to hire a hype guy. Just something memorable for a show, even if it's just squirting people with a super soaker, when they're all hot and desperate for a drink, and what just someone in a silly costume, just hyping people up, and people that sticks out in people's memories. So it's on our list of potential improvements to the show. Is a hype man.
Where do you
We'll
find
see.
a hype man? Is that what kind of LinkedIn
I don't
profile are
know.
you looking for?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll put it on Indeed, but we'll see what applicants we get.
Hype man for Scar
It,
Band. I
yeah,
would be genuinely amazed to see who comes into that. What kind of bracket of demographic you
it's
get of people.
yeah, definitely. And for us, we're gonna have to find a dual crew member who can help, with setting up and do a little bit of tech and things like that, which is going to be difficult to find someone that can do a little bit of everything and is of the same, backgrounds and doesn't mind doing it like we're doing it for not a lot of money, if any, So it's pretty much impossible to recruit because you got to say, sorry, we can't actually, pay you any money because we don't get paid. So
Mm.
it's very really difficult to make your first hire, I would imagine, as a band is pretty difficult. It's got to be, I guess, a friend, long time friend or something like that. But we haven't reached that stage yet. But
But you've got plenty
it's
of
on.
support, so I imagine.
Yeah,
And if not, I'll
yeah,
do it.
hopefully.
I'll be your hype
Yes,
man
nice. I'll
happily.
I'll hold you to that.
Oh, don't go for it. If you can supply the t-shirt cannon or the toilet paper cannon or whatever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
I'll
All
happily.
materials supplied.
If I've got a free evening, I'll drive over to wherever the gig is and just be like, right, okay, give me the cannon, give me 20
Ex-
minutes, and I'll be good.
Excellent. I'll hold you to that for
Oh
sure.
no, go for it. More than easy. I remember when a friend of mine who lives in Southampton, funnily enough, had to cancel on a Neck Deep concert they were playing there.
Oh,
I don't know how well you know Southampton, but
only a little bit. Yeah.
there's a very small venue there called the Joiners. And they
Oh, the
were
joiners have played there. Yeah.
yeah, and they were playing there, and he just went, right, I can't go, but it's tomorrow. Do you want it? And I went, yeah, all
Wow.
right. So I drove to Southampton just for like a Thursday evening, just for that gig. So
Nice.
don't you worry. Tell me where to be, and I'll be there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Saving the details. We'll do that.
Well,
And
I
you got
mean,
to wear a seagull costume, of course.
oh, that's fine. I'll
Yeah.
get the one in my cupboard.
Sweet.
But I wondered why I've been keeping that for so long, and I've finally
Yeah.
felt
Yeah. Yeah.
my calling.
We'll get it dry clean for you. You know. We'll sort you out.
I mean, if you need the seagull, I'm there. Don't you worry.
Yeah. We don't know who it will be yet, whether it will be a seagull or yeah. If we did a skeleton, it'd be kind of copying a bit too much, I think, less than Jake, because they have
No,
the
you
skeleton
need
guys.
something
So
that's wholeheartedly Great Yarmouth.
it's
You
got
could
to be a
be
seagull,
a
isn't it?
seagull
I think.
or a stolen chip, like solitary
Yeah,
stolen chip from said seagull, and you could have a whole
I would
fight.
love to see a chip
You can have two hype
costume.
people. You can have a fight between the seagull and the single chip between each other, and then the
You
chip
see what
eventually.
being a silly band does? It gives you all these opportunities, for ridiculous but
All these
amazing things.
ideas. I'd love to see that. I'd love to be involved
Yeah,
in that, bro.
yeah, we'll
Well,
do
I
it.
mean, have you got any other, like, if you were touring with other bands, do you know many of the sort of modern day ska bands that are out there? Because I was thinking in my head,
Uh,
I remember listening to a lot of Millington. I know they're out and
Millington, I
about.
love that.
They're
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
They're
See. I'm a sucker for pop vocals. I'm probably alone in that in the group, but I like a polished pop vocal, and
mm,
I cannot do anything about that. The others are into the more gritty stuff, vocally speaking. But Millington's pop vocal is obviously it's very polished. It's a
love it.
newfound glory vocal over a ska song, which is for me is like yes, this is great. Yeah, so love Millington, but we're getting better at making contacts. It's finding those new ska bands that are doing well or doing better than us. At that next level. Your 5,000 follower kind of bands is where we need to aim next. That's kind of the next rung on the ladder. Bands that have got that sort of fan base that can put on a tour, and we can go along with them and gain some new followers and compliment them as well. So we get them better. It's just there's platforms out there to find these bands. We've just gotta. It's just allocating time to find. Right, I'm going to research tonight. I'm going to
See
research
who's out
ska
there.
bands. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it is happening organically so far, based on ads that we put on Instagram and also shows that we've been involved in, like the Blood, Sweat and Beers Twitch stream, which is
Nice, nice.
which has done really well for us, and it's made some lovely connections. So
Have you ever, other like Millington, are there any other bands that you're listening to at the moment that, like, whether American, Canadian, wherever, that you've really gone, I'd like to do something with them?
I've discovered a couple, discovered in the sense of me, a couple on Blood, Sweat and Beers. A band called Knives. They're not ska as such, but they're very much very less than Jake, pop ska punk, I would say. Yeah. And a English band called Project Revise, who
Oh
we're
yeah,
hoping
I
to
know
play
them.
with. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think they're from your side of the country, somewhere down there. So we're hoping to get some shows with both those acts. Fingers crossed.
Mm.
Yeah, so I've discovered a few new bands like that, but I'm very stuck in my ways. I'll put Spotify on the daily mix and see what it throws at me, and it is a lot of the time the same stuff. And I am guilty of that for sure. Not discovering new bands as much as I should, and that is something I've got to work on personally. Is listening to new stuff. But I
Mm.
am just a sucker for the same old 90s and noughties ska punk. Unapologetically a sucker for it.
Well, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I need some new stuff, need some new stuff to listen to for
But I
sure.
guess that's kind of an interesting look into the scene itself, whether it's as much as the general ska pop punk scene is quite saturated, actually finding bands to collaborate with can be quite tricky.
Yeah, yeah. There's one from our area that's doing really well, called Faintest Idea. They're doing great, really, really taking the market by storm. So it gives us good motivation to know that we can do it, despite where we're from. Being on the arse end of nowhere, as it's affectionately called. It's not a big music town. It's not London, it's not Manchester, so that plays a part. So, but it's nice to see a Norfolk band doing well.
Mm.
And there's other bands at that level, like Popes of Chili Town and Random Hand and those kind of bands that are still playing and doing great. And we really aspire to get to that level and be playing venues really regularly as much as we can. Just building that scene up again. A fourth wave is coming, I think. We
Fourth
want to be part
generation
of it.
is, yeah,
It's got
totally.
to be it's got to be happening, and we want to be there.
Well,
sure.
I'd like to think I thought that the fourth generation was coming a few years ago, but I think people are still hanging on. Like the story,
Yeah, I think COVID put it back a little bit for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, I was saying before, like especially in the pop punk scene, I thought like, oh, maybe the newbies are coming around, and then the story so far and Neck Deep both released singles in like the
Mm,
same week. I was like, okay, well, all right, never mind, I was wrong. And then
yeah,
State Champs had like an album in 22, and
yeah.
all the big leagues. Knucklepuck had theirs last year, and I was like, right,
Mm,
they're just going to keep going. All the same guys are going to keep going even after 10
yeah.
years.
There's nothing wrong with that as well. You know,
No, I love
I'd love
it.
to see bands carrying on for a long time, and just getting better and better. So yeah, and obviously Slam Dunk is growing exponentially every year, and that's only going to get bigger. And that's probably our ultimate goal as a band.
That was
That's
literally
our
my next question.
yeah, excellent. That's where we want to be. You know, that is a very lofty but very doable goal if we work hard enough. And we just got to keep being out there and playing well and doing our marketing well and just working hard, and we'll see what happens.
So yeah, once you've got there, it's like, that's it. I can retire now. I'm done.
Well, where do you go from Slam Dunk? I guess then it's to America and things like that. So,
Mm,
the Warp Tour unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but maybe that will come back. Who knows?
the dream, if
Yeah.
only.
Warp Tour would be, just so much fun for a band like us. And what an experience.
I can't imagine. Yeah,
Needs to come back.
I've heard so many stories about it, and I think I'm slightly out of the age range of being able to. Well, I mean, let alone getting to the US, but
Yeah, I was too
it's
young to go, but it gave birth essentially to so many of my favorite bands that like they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this festival.
mm.
So yeah, I owe it a lot for my taste in music, essentially.
It seems like Scar is just a defining part of your life. I think it's great.
It is.
It's inspired not only the band but yourself in so many ways.
Yeah, yeah, it has. And when I before I discovered Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, it was all it was the big boom of '90s manufactured pop, and it just there was no place for me there. And it's like I just can't get into anything, and then obviously Tony Hawk's came and just opened up this whole nother life that I'm still clinging on to in my late 30s. So. Still desperately clinging on to.
But I mean, if that's what you like and it's keeping you going as a band and
Yeah.
as a person, then what more do you need? What more
Exactly.
influence?
I know, yeah. Still, I just can't gonna be a middle-aged punk rocker when I get there. Still gonna be wearing the same stuff, same terrible stuff that I've worn
Same pink hat.
since Tony Hawk's. Yeah, yeah, that's it. I'll still be there, have a few washes and stuff, but the same terrible stuff I've been wearing since I first heard Superman by Goldfink.
It
Even when
wraps
I'm
all
50, 60, whatever.
and
We'll
it
see.
wraps all the way around. It's always, yeah, it's the same bands doing the same stuff and it's great. But as like a well then as a sort of a final point, what is it about Stankfinger? What is it about Scar that's really brought you to this moment with your album? Like what culminates this whole adventure that you're having? What's your final thought on it?
It's a good question. It's a difficult one to answer. It's just so many things have landed so well for us. As I say, we have been really lucky. We've worked hard as well. You have to, but we have been very fortunate with the experience that myself and Ozzy have had as well in other working bands. We've put that to good use. We've come together and created this new group and built it from scratch, and it's grown. As I say, we never intended it to do this, and it has grown way beyond what we could have ever imagined. But I think in terms of Scar and where it's brought us, it's just happiness and an escape from life's many problems and the camaraderie, the friendships. It's kind of the thing that you'll remember once material stuff is gone. What you're left with is memories and all those nights at the waterfront in Norwich, seeing punk rock bands and what have you, and just making those memories is what has brought us all together into this album. And we just want to make great songs, and hopefully we've done that, and hopefully the listeners will enjoy it.
Well, I mean, I can only imagine that they will, because I thoroughly enjoyed it, and
Ah, thank you.
oh, it's brilliant. If anything, it sort of reignited that flame of ska punk and like that edge of pop punk that I don't explore as much as I should. That's the exact very reason why I mentioned Millington, because I was like, this sounds a lot like the songs they did, and I listened to
That's
their
a big
EP.
compliment. Yeah.
But I remember listening to yours. Now I went back and went, okay, this sounds familiar, and then listened to Millington, and I was
Mm.
like, ah, yeah, I remember why I like this now.
I don't
So.
listen to enough Millington. I'm going to put them back on my rotation.
Well, consider this the endorsement to get back into
Yes.
that. But I mean,
Yes, for sure.
that's exactly it. I mean, that's the level of talent you guys are working with. So I'm sure this album will do just
Appreciate that.
fine.
Appreciate that. And I think for the industry, like bands like I credit Punk Rock Factory with kind of igniting it as well because they've brought this genre, not ska essentially, but they've brought obviously punk rock back into the forefront of people's minds. They've brought it into an updated time, on TikTok and what have you. They've exploded on there. They're now touring and selling out tours and stuff like that, playing covers, which is a few years ago they'd have been potentially bottled for. But it's just brought this like our genre to a whole new audience and a whole much younger audience, which is what it needs. It needs that injection of new listeners, and so that they're a big factor. Although they just do what they do and do it great, they're actually, I think, responsible for a lot more good stuff than they'd realize. They're probably doing well now financially off it, but but what they've done for the industry and for the genre without realizing it is really good because it's opened a lot of new people's eyes to that style of music and fast drums and fast guitars will then translate over to slightly different versions of that kind of music, which is where we bands like us would come in.
Wow. Yeah. It's so nice to hear that optimism about a genre that 20 years ago was at its peak and then dipped
Yeah,
off again. And now you can absolutely see a rise in popularity again. And you'll be in that.
yeah.
You'll be in that
Hopefully,
rise.
yeah. Fingers crossed. That's what we're banking on. We've just got to be in the thick of it. Keep working hard. Keep writing music, good music, and just let the rest kind of fall into place. Hopefully,
Well, I'm gonna have for the album, I'm gonna have three fingers crossed as opposed to just the usual two.
that would be quite some feat.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
I can do that, but
I can't. Yeah, I can't.
no, I'm not even going to attempt that. But yeah, obviously, finger discount out on Friday, the 19th of January, just in case people listen to this in a month's time, in which case you missed it, but it's still there.
Still
Um,
there. Listen to
yeah, no, please do. And thank you,
it.
James, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Ah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's really nice to meet you and
And you.
really
Don't for
happy to be on.
Yeah, no, well, thank you. And don't forget that if you need me in a seagull costume, I'm all ears.
Oh, I've written it down. Yeah, yeah. That's it's banked.
Oh, perfect. Well, I can't wait for the costume. It's going to look great.